So obviously, if you're taking English 251, you're going for a degree.
Yeah.
How close are you?
Hopefully by the end of spring 2017, I'll be done.
Nice.
I'm trying to take as many like summer things here and there as I can to fill.
Cool.
So.
Very good.
All right, this is called 10 Tips from a First Year HVAC Apprentice. Obviously, I've been coming up on my 1 year doing this. I've worked with 2 places, Turnbull in Batavia, and then a place in Buffalo called World Heating and Cooling. I do service and installs at this point. I've got a good mixture of both. This is based solely on my experience from my first year. Your experiences may vary depending on what you do. And the views represented do not necessarily represent the views of MCC, its staff, or its affiliates. I gotta throw that in there, just so everybody knows. Alright, number 1, this one is actually pretty important. Listen to what the HVAC professors say. It doesn't always sink in, but when you're in the field, the stuff he says, the stuff Kevin says, you'll hear it in the back of your head. They're a good source of knowledge. You can call them, email them problems. You know, your education doesn't stop when you leave. It keeps going, and these guys know because they've been doing it so long. You will hear their voices in the back of your head, and this does apply to seasoned professionals when you are in the field. You know, listen to what they have to say, but they can't be as good as the teachers here, right? They can't. Number 2, this one's been important to me, especially when you get into service. It does apply to installs too, because you will have times when you do an install, you go to start it up and it doesn't start. And you're standing there, you're crapping your pants, you're like, oh, what happened? But this is mainly for service. You know, try to understand what's supposed to happen and when with the equipment that you're working on. Know how most of the equipment that you service or install works. Most companies tend to lean towards certain products, so try to get a good understanding of how stuff works. If you don't, talk to your boss. A lot of times, a lot of your suppliers will give classes on your products. A lot of times they'll do it for cheap, or you can set stuff up through them. It helps you to know when something is wrong or not quite right. And all equipment is different. This is hard. All equipment's different, but the manufacturers do tend to be consistent with their designs. A lot of times you can open a furnace or air conditioner and just look at the parts, the way things are, and say, oh, that's a Rheem, that's a Lennox, that's a York. And it helps, especially if you're doing like a service checkup, because that's one of the first things you'll do with service, is they'll say, hey, you're doing service checkups today, go out and do this. So you're like, you walk out and you look at this thing, you're like, where's the flame sensor? Where's the spark igniter? You're like, oh, that's a Rheem, so I know it's down here. So, good stuff to know. This one's important too. Well, they're all important, but this one, it's a good mantra to live by. Your tools are your livelihood. Try to take care of your tools. Wear a tool belt if needed. The tool belt thing is more if you're doing like commercial type jobs, you're up and down a ladder. Try to have it, because what will happen is you'll climb up a ladder, you'll be up in the rafters, you'll set a pair of snips down here. You'll climb down, you take your ladder 50 feet the other direction, you climb up the ladder again, you're like, crap. Your snips are 50 feet over there, so you gotta get down, move the ladder. So try not to lose tools. And this one I do a lot. Have a backup of most of the tools in your bag. I have almost 2 of everything in one form or another. Like I have a long 1/4-inch hex driver, I have a stubby. So if I lose a long 1/4-inch one, I have an extra one. I have 2 meters at all times, just in case your batteries die, because your meter is like your magic wand. That's what I usually refer to it as, the magic wand, because you can do a lot with it. So I always have 2. And try to have a backup. Yeah, always having the backup, but know how you can use your tools in different ways. It's kind of important, because there are times you might drop a tool down into a cesspit under a house, and you're like, well, what do I do now? Because I have done that, and you're not getting them back when they go in a cesspit. I'm not reaching under there. Be mostly honest with customers. Now that, mostly honest. You don't have to tell customers every single thing you do. All they really care about is the job is done. Same thing with your boss. Get it done. That's what they need to know. Most people do know when they're being lied to, even if they don't say it. Most people do. We've all gotten that weird feeling before when you think somebody's lying to us. You try to make people feel at ease, and you will get calls. If somebody thinks you're being lied to, they'll be real nice to your face, and as soon as you leave, they'll be on the phone with your boss. Be like, hey, I don't think this guy did his job, and then so your boss wants you to be able to be good with customers. Some things are better left unsaid, but don't lie if you're asked about things. I've known some guys in the field, they just lie about everything, and sometimes if you don't say it, people don't really ask. And it is okay to embellish a little. I call that being a salesman. Embellish a little, but don't lie about stuff. Don't be a hero. This one's important. Fix what needs to be fixed, nothing more, nothing less. Get in, do your job, get out. No good deed goes unpunished. Kevin French actually said that in my first semester. He used to say that. No good deed goes unpunished. You know, if you think you're going to be a hero, you're gonna fix something real cheap, real quick, and you're gonna look real good, and 2 hours later, after you've left, the thing breaks. Then the customer calls, you get a call back, and now they want it for free. They want you to come back, fix stuff for free, and it never works out. So just do what you're paid to do. And remember this one, everyone has a sob story. I've heard them from wealthy people, I've heard it from poor people, and everybody in between. Everybody has a sob story. So just say important. Do your job, nothing more. Learn to be a salesman. When you walk onto a job, you represent your company, even if you didn't sell the job. That's important. Try to look decent to people, sell things, and there's always stuff you can sell after, like preventative maintenance agreements, extended service plans, all sorts of stuff. You will be seen as more valuable to your boss, and this one's a Kevin mantra. Go for the high fruit, not just the low fruit. It works. You try to find everything that's wrong with something when you go there, not just the quick, easy fix. It helps customers. I mean, it stinks. Customers aren't always as happy with it, but in the long run, if they know stuff needs to be fixed, it's better to tell them right then and there. Your boss does know your limitations. Most bosses. I mean, there are some bad bosses out there, but this one's uncomfortable, but it's true. You will be put in uncomfortable situations when you get out there. Lots. My boss tells me this one all the time. The strongest tools are the ones that are heat treated. You will be expected to accomplish the tasks assigned to you. And don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call like a service tech, somebody else that works with you, because you're not a man on an island. Most people that you work with, they've been through all this. They've been in the uncomfortable situations, and they will help you. I mean, some guys might razz you a little bit, but you don't really want to be calling your boss every 5 seconds saying, hey, I can't fix this. Call somebody, get it fixed, and then call your boss and say, hey, I fixed it. You look good. But yeah, your boss knows what you can do and what you can't do. He's going to put you through hell just to see if you survive. Be resourceful. This one's good too. Know what you have stocked on your truck at all times. Even if you're riding along with somebody and you're doing handyman work, helping them out, know what they have. Try to understand how to accomplish certain tasks different ways. You might be a guy who just goes out and installs humidifiers every day. You use the same materials, the same thing every day, but say you get like a weird situation where you got to go different angles, do different things. Just try to understand how things work, how you can do stuff different ways. It's actually pretty good to know how to do that. And know where the suppliers are located and which ones your company uses. If you do get to a job and you don't have something, it's better to call your boss and say, hey, there's another supplier right around the corner, I don't have this, can I go grab it? Rather than saying, I'm out of something, what do I do? You look stupid. You don't want to look stupid. You want to be able to give him the out just to say, yeah, go grab it, do what you got to do, and then put the line on the phone, and you'll look a lot better. Oh, this one's good. Avoid weekday drinking. You will end up in a 110-degree attic the next day. If you do decide, it's happened to me, it happens to every guy, everybody does it. If you go out and you get hammered, the next day you will be screwed. It sucks. I've done it. It's the worst thing. And it does apply to any other recreational activities. Don't do them. Save it for Friday night, Saturday night, and it will severely limit your faculties. If you're sweating beer or you're sweating whiskey the next day, it sucks. Especially when it's hot. I mean, when it's cold, you kind of have more of an out, but when it's hot, it sucks. So don't get drunk in the middle of the week. And this one's hard for a lot of guys, because I've seen some guys freak out with this. Get used to tight spaces. I'm a big guy, and I I squeeze myself into spaces I didn't even think I could squeeze into. I mean, just the other day I squeezed into a crawl space under a house. I had that much of an opening, like just to get into it. And the whole underside was full of like ductwork, and you had to crawl under stuff. And it's common.
Pretty glamorous, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. Attics too. When you go to an attic, it's always hot. No matter what time of year it is, it's hot. It sucks. You have to be careful where you walk, because if you don't, you'll stick your foot right through the floor. Or no, right through the ceiling.
Your floor, their ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw one guy one time, he stepped through, his foot went through, hit the drop ceiling support, and he took out a big 12 by 12 chunk of drop ceiling just right on the floor. So, I mean, it is rare to have optimal space and lighting around your equipment, so make sure you have good light. And just understand that when you get out there, it's going to be like dirty, messy. You're going to see like cockroaches, all sorts of nasty shit. The good thing is with cockroaches, when you turn a light on, they usually scurry away. That's one thing I found. But sometimes you get the people with cats. Cats are the worst in a basement because they won't leave you alone. You're sitting there, you're working on a furnace, you got like a gas valve off, and you got this thing like rubbing you. You're like piped open your hand. I have kicked a cat before I felt bad about it, but most equipment is very compact. So if you got the shakes, you got chubby hands, it's something you got to get used to. They don't really make a lot of equipment easy for us to fix, and it's just a faster job because nobody wants giant equipment in their basement. They want nice small equipment. So big takeaway is this is a good business to be in. You can make a lot of money. The more available you are, obviously, the more money you make. Especially if you don't mind tough situations. That's what your boss is really going to be looking for. Somebody he can just call at like 3 a.m. and say, hey, I got this going on. I need help. And you say, sure, I'll do it. It sucks. I know it's going to suck, but if he knows you'll do stuff that sucks, you're going to make a lot more money. And all the skills that you do obtain, you're going to be able to use in your personal life, which is nice. You're going to learn how to do all sorts of stuff. So try to learn stuff because it'll save you a lot of money at home. It saved me a lot of money. I actually the other day, my dryer died. So I got my meter out and I started working on it. It ended up being a $5 thermal overload fuse. So, $5, fix my...
Learn how to fix furnace, learn how to fix a dryer.
Learn how to fix a dryer. Seriously, I pulled out my meter, grabbed the wiring diagram, went through, fixed it. So, well, that's that. Any questions or anything? No? All right. That's it.
All right, thanks, Josh.
You don't want to sweat beer.